All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Connors at 6 p.m. and at 6:02 p.m., excuse me. I'd like to call the November 5th meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission to order. Mason, can you read the remote open meeting law preamble and take a roll call of the members present?
As a preliminary matter, this is Mason Ferret, Conservation Agent of the Newbury Conservation Commission, and I call the November 5th meeting to order and permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Rimmer?
Yes.
TJ Conti? Nope. Mick Brown?
Yes.
Diane O'Brien?
Yes.
Woody Knight?
Yes.
Bob Connors?
Yes.
And Frank Wettenkamp.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom conference as posted on the agenda of the Conservation Commission section of the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Applicants or their representatives may be called on to speak and or share information to the screen if able on the fly. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover some of the ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board and committee members should be called upon in first name alphabetical order to ease the process. If board and committee members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After the board and committee members have spoken, the chair will afford public comments as follows. The chair will first seek questions through the chat function, and then the chair will seek questions from the public who wish to speak. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mason. Okay, upcoming meeting dates on November 19th and December 3rd. You know, just saying those dates scare me. I mean, December 3rd, and it's 75 degrees out. Okay, meeting minutes review, October 15th, 2024. Team, I didn't get those into the Dropbox, as I recall. I had looked at them, and honestly, I wanted to have a chance to discuss them with Mason. So I'm just going to suggest, why don't we just grab those at our November 19th meeting, if that meets everyone's approval. Okay, first order of business, request for a determination of applicability. 14 Pine Island Road, applicant would like to construct and add a mudroom and a two-car garage to existing dwelling and property. The applicant has requested this be continued to the 11/19 meeting as he was consulting with a wetland consultant. Okay, next matter is an RDA for 63 Sunset Drive. Applicant would like to remove invasive growth, install an engineered wall, install the privacy fence, and the planting of mature plants. Mason, you want to give an overview? Is the applicant on the call?
Yep, the applicant's here. I'll give a quick overview. The project's located on Plum Island, all the way down Sunset Drive, and it's bordering the Great Marsh. The applicant has had issues with existing flooding areas in his driveway and surrounding the house. And his intention is to remove the beach rose and replace it with native plants and a hard masonry wall to hopefully kind of battle that ongoing storm damage that's happening on the property. There are small existing rock structures, but often hard surfaces are not permitted down the beach. So my recommendation for him was to get in contact with a consultant and look into a dune project to mitigate some of the wave damage and to disperse some of the wave energy. But I believe Connor is here to kind of explain his thinking and what he was looking into.
Hey, so Connor, good evening. If you give us your name and address, and then
Yes.
make your presentation and answer questions from the members as they arise.
Sure. Thank you for your time. I'm Connor Christuck. The address is 63 Sunset in Newbury. So as Mason pointed out there, there's been, especially this past January, been in the worst flood that we've seen in my lifetime. I've been a resident at this location my entire life. There has been flooding that has gotten into the house itself. It's not on stilts. It's old. I think it was built in 1969. The garage, things like that. There are that non-native species, that Rosa rugosa, as was mentioned, that spans a property line, which has also been kind of creeping up and invading into the yard. It gets as deep as like 12 or 15 feet in some points. So essentially killing two birds with one stone, helping to prevent the floodwaters from getting to my house is the main goal, and also the removal of kind of that non-native plant. The idea is to create some sort of berm. The best way I knew how to do it is some sort of engineered wall that would be mortarless. Yep, that's property right there. That would be mortarless. To have sand that would match the grain size on Plum Island, to use some sort of geotextile fabric to keep it in, that berm in, and hold that textile fabric down with river stone or river rock. To maintain kind of that privacy that's already there. The goal was to put some sort of like PVC fence in that would be set 2 feet off the ground so as to keep, any kind of flood waters, that were that high, God forbid, to go through the area. That's really the summary of it.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you're thinking of eliminating the engineered wall and putting in more of a sand berm with a geofabric, or what?
So the engineer wall isn't in place now. There are some like larger rocks that are kind of stacked up next to each other. And my understanding is decades past, the Department of Public Works put in they're like parking spot indicators. I don't know how else to describe them. They're kind of like 4 or 5 feet wide and maybe 8 inches tall, but they're made of stone and cement. That's on the edge of the property. But the idea is to build up kind of sand in those areas where the roses are, but about 5 feet in width, and that's going to essentially be a berm, and something has to hold the sand in place because the flood water would just take it away. So that geotextile fabric lined with the mortarless engineered wall was my best idea of how to kind of keep that in place.
Okay, why don't you hold there and let me open this up to questions. Mary, questions for Connor on his request?
Yes, I guess, I can understand you wanting to protect your property there. You are in a flood zone, looks like an AE zone, and you are on the coastal dune. So this board has to make sure that projects meet the performance standards for a coastal dune. And you're proposing quite a lot of activity, removal of vegetation and installation of concrete footings in a wall, which isn't really allowed on a coastal dune. There are very few exceptions to that, but it would require filing a notice of intent to do that. So we can't, in my opinion, can't address this under a request for determination, because what you're proposing it would result in quite a lot of impact to coastal dune, unfortunately. The Rosa rugosa that you showed in the photo is an excellent soil stabilizer. That is actually a really good defense. Even it is technically non-native, but it's not considered invasive, and it's all over the island, and it's got a really dense root system, and it really is going to be the best thing there for holding the sand in place. You're not going to be able to do much about the flooding that occurs, and I'm sure it has gotten worse as you have lived there, and it's expected to continue to rise. So there's a limit to what you're allowed to do under the regulations to flood proof your property on a coastal dune. Obviously, the most resilient homes are on pilings above the dune and allow the floodwater to pass underneath it. So I guess what I would have to say that I am not in favor of the project as it's currently proposed. I think that it's more than we can handle in an RDA, and also probably not, well, certainly not in conformance with the dune performance standards. So
Okay,
that's my take on it.
all right, thank you, Mary. TJ, questions or comments for Connor on this?
Connor, have you seek counsel or a professional help planning this and getting other suggestions?
Yeah, I've worked with a landscaper called Beaver Creek Construction. He helped me put together kind of like pricing some of these things out, and what was feasible and what like they could really accomplish. I haven't gone through any kind of, as Mason kind of advised in the beginning, I haven't gone that route, getting kind of any kind of professional consultation.
Okay, anything else, TJ? I think your screen is freezed up.
No, that's it. Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, I can, TJ,
Okay.
thank you. Woody, any questions for Connor on this?
No, I don't have any questions right now. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Mick, any questions for Connor on this?
I think both Mary and TJ covered it really well, and this really isn't a project, per your description, what you're proposing really needs engineering. You're proposing putting in structures and, taking away plants, adding sand, these types of things. That really needs to be under an engineering plan. And I think really does need to go the route of a notice of intent as opposed to an RDA.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, questions or comments for Connor?
No, I agree. I just put NOI. There's no delineation of anything as far as the wetland boundaries go, and wasn't sure that the fence would even be allowed down on Plum Island like that, even if you had the 2 feet. So just I have NOI with concrete footings going in, and just thought it was a lot.
Yeah. So Connor, I guess to do a recap, I think Mason kind of forewarned you that at RDA was not going to be a likely pathway forward on this. What we typically expect is a site plan prepared by a registered surveyor or engineer that shows existing conditions and your proposed conditions, and that's usually done in conjunction with a wetland consultant that will likely inform you that you're not going to be able to put in a hard structure at your location. It won't be permittable by the Wetland Protection Act. But so what I'm going to suggest is we're not going to be able to take any action on the RDA tonight. I'm going to suggest that you just withdraw it. Otherwise, we have to deny it and tell you to get an NOI. And you may just want to rethink what you're going to do and give you some time to do it.
Or am I able to ask any
Oh,
questions or
yeah,
clarification?
absolutely. Ask away. We're here to answer your questions the best we can.
Okay, awesome.
We're not consultants to tell you how to do this. We're kind of the compliance arm that kind of keeps
Right.
everyone within the guardrails.
Right. Understood. And I really appreciate all the comments and insight into this. As you can see, I'm young and inexperienced with this sort of thing. So, I want to do it the right way, and that's really important to me. So a few of the comments that were made was that I'm on a sand dune. What is like the clarification for being on a sand dune? Because my understanding from reading the Code of Mass regs are that I'm on like a beach property and that I abut the wetlands.
So
Go ahead.
deep,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Mary, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, the way the regulations are set up, you're on a barrier beach, and a barrier beach consists of beach and dune. So
Right.
if it's not beach, it's dune. So the all of Plum Island is a regulated resource area. And in addition, you have across the street, salt marsh. and you're in the flood zone, so you have what's called land subject to coastal storm flowage. All of those have individual performance standards for work within each of those zones. And, you know, we could spend the evening talking about what those standards are and how to comply with them. But suffice it to say that, you know, when you're on a coastal dune, which is what you would be considered to be regulated as, you have to allow the dune to continue to move and migrate with wind and storm action. That's why the houses are being elevated in part on Plum Island, and also because of the flood zone requirements that you have to elevate them when you approve project properties over a certain value. But in any event, you're by forcing the dune to remain intact the way you would for it with a hard retaining wall, you wouldn't allow the dune migration to occur that is supposed to naturally occur, which will eventually make its way over Sunset Drive, or you know, there's not very far that it can go, but that's the way the regulations are set up. So we can't stop that from occurring. But there may be a creative way that an engineer or an environmental consultant could help you in addressing that without having that hard structure in place. So
Yeah,
we'll look into that.
that's good. Yeah, because that's like the ultimate goal of this, right? Like, I mean, there's a house there, and I need to live in it. So I need to find a way to keep water out while also, it sounds like, presenting a plan that allows water to flow through. So it's kind of a contradictory thing. I guess that's
It
up to the
is.
consultant to
Yep.
how to do that. Okay.
Any other questions, Connor?
I think that's it. I'll just go and find these folks, and
Okay.
I guess how to withdraw, is that something Mason, I guess I can connect with him after.
I would think that you could just request to withdraw your RDA tonight.
I can do it right here.
Verbally, yes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fine.
maybe
Oh.
do that.
Oh yeah, sure. Would like to request to withdraw my RDA, please.
Okay. All right, well, Connor, good luck, and you know what, Mason can give you some guidance on a number of the consultants that work with the town, or anyone else, just as a starting point. We don't recommend anybody, we just provide a list of wetland scientists that come before us on a regular basis.
Understood. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
I
Okay,
can send that
thank
list
you.
over to you, Connor.
All right, that sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. So next order of business is an enforcement order, expired DEP file 0501344, Old 2 Point Road, Sunset Club, for unauthorized work, including the construction relocation of structures. We actually issued an order of conditions at our last meeting, but we did not take any action, as Mason recalls, to close out the enforcement order. That wouldn't extinguish the requirement to submit certificates of compliance when appropriate for the expired order of conditions, and the same for the new order of conditions that was recently approved. So what's our pleasure here? Questions, Mary? What are your thoughts on this?
My thought was to keep it active until we get full compliance on the notice of intent, but that was my position at the last meeting, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it, we've got two outstanding order of conditions that create a flaw in the title. And the order was to, as I recall, it was to do no further work. Mason, do you have a copy of that?
I do not have it handy right now.
Okay. As I recall, it was to do no further work and file a notice of intent. And they have complied with both of those requirements on the order of enforcement order. It did not require any other planting or activity.
Right.
It was those two specific items.
I would agree that in that case, you could either release the enforcement order or amend it to just say, now that those items have been completed, you know, the remaining items described in the notice of intent need to be completed. Because the notice of intent, again, is a voluntary process. The enforcement order is non-voluntary, and we want them to comply because they're out of compliance. So that's why keeping the enforcement order in place made some sense to me.
Yeah, it just
We can
have,
amend it, or we can, we can let it
Yeah.
go, and if you don't get compliance, you can issue another enforcement order. It's just that we already have it in place, so. It's, I can go along with whatever the board wants, but that was my thinking.
yeah, I mean, I look at the whole purpose of recording the order of conditions is to create a flaw in the title that will be corrected at some point down the
Some
road.
point. Yeah,
And-
that's
and-
why there's no urgency in doing that. And it,
Okay, well, Mary,
So-
we've got your thoughts on this.
Mhm.
What do you think?
I would leave it in place for now, but, with a new NOA in the future here and whatnot, I don't know, but I don't know what the right thing to do is. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd leave it in place for now.
Okay. TJ, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think they complied with with our enforcement order for the first one. The NOI will address the next ones. And I don't have a problem releasing the enforcement order based upon that they met the requirement that we asked for.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Mick, what are your thoughts on this one?
Kind of along the lines of TJ, where they have met the two conditions of the enforcement order. We should be able to release that enforcement order because you have an NOI and an order of conditions in place that that control any future work, correct? And it's also attached to the title. So I don't see how keeping the enforcement order open really serves a purpose when you have the order of conditions in place.
I mean, you have two orders of conditions, one's
Right.
expired, one's new.
Right,
I think Mary's point was if they were rectifying a violation, work that had to be undone, that was done illegally or couldn't be permitted. No, I would tend to agree with Mary if that was the aspect of it. Okay, Mick,
Okay.
let me move on to Diane and see what she thinks. Diane, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm just trying to get it in my head again. So we had the enforcement order. They submitted an NOI as we requested. And we issued an order of conditions on that NOI that's currently in place.
Correct.
And then the expired order of conditions was
still-
on a different matter, right?
Well, they let the original order expire.
Yeah,
They brought it to our attention with a new filing as a precaution because there's no guarantee that a new notice of intent is going to be approved. We issued an emergency, a stop work order, emergency enforcement order, making sure they did no further work and requiring them to file a notice of intent. So where it stands now is they have no outstanding violations. They have a expired order of conditions that they're going to need to clean up a certificate of compliance. And we're talking primarily, I think, plantings here.
What I-
Go ahead,
I
Mary.
would disagree that there were items that they needed to do that they didn't do, that, building the dune and the planting that was proposed.
Oh, yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
compel them to do that.
Right.
They're not doing that voluntarily. That's why I'm saying leave it open, because there are activities in their notice of intent, their new notice of intent that they filed, that are being compelled by us through this enforcement order. So we asked for the notice of intent. That was one step to include these items. Now, the next step is to carry through on the items to come into compliance with the original order of conditions. They haven't done that yet, so they're still out of compliance with the original order of conditions. So that's why I was thinking keeping it open.
But don't they have 3 years to do that now?
They do under the order, but
Under the new order, yeah.
right. They technically do under the order. That's the difference, in the enforcement order, we can say, go ahead and do it in tomorrow or have it done within 30 days. So there's just maintaining some urgency. This is a very public site and everybody knows about these issues. I'm sure they
Oh,
want
yeah.
to come into compliance. I'm not trying to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
I just, it's not a big deal to just keep the thing open. It's not hurting them at all, like my keeping it open for a little bit, but until those items that they have to do to get in compliance with the original order of conditions are completed. That was my thought.
Okay, Mary. Diane, what's your thought on this?
Did the second order of conditions, did that envelop everything that was in the first order of conditions, the one that expired?
It mirrored the first one,
Yep,
and the special conditions that were attached to the expired order were transferred and attached to the current order of conditions.
So they basically bought another 3 years
Correct.
to do what they were supposed to do back initially.
Well, what they proposed to do initially and they can't close, now they've got 2 orders of conditions. They can't close out the expired order till they do the work, and they can't close out the new order until they do the work. The only thing I don't want to do is set a precedent that we issued an enforcement order to get them to file an NOI, and they've done that, we've approved the work, and now we're keeping another enforcement order and kind of superseding the intent of the order of conditions, which is they propose work, we've approved it, and they have a period of time to get it done. That's the only thing. If we were trying to correct, there was an open pit or there was something else, that would certainly be, this is proposed work. It's not an open violation or a safety feature in my mind, but. So what's our pleasure? I don't want to beat this thing to death. I don't think it's, is there any appetite to, go ahead, Diane.
I just had a question. So maybe then moving forward in the future, whatever, could the order, the enforcement order could have said, you need to comply with this within 60 days or whatever, but that didn't say that. This particular enforcement order just says stop work, submit an NOI. So technically they're in compliance with it,
Right.
but we could have said complete the work within 90 days or.
Well, we couldn't because there wasn't an order of conditions allowing any additional work.
Because it had expired.
Correct. So
Okay.
that's the kind of the catch-22, where we couldn't make them do the unfinished work because they didn't have a permit to do it. And hence that's why we brought them in, and they've done what we've asked. Is kind of how I'm looking at it. And I think 2 outstanding order of conditions on a multi-million-dollar piece of property is certainly sufficient to get it across the finish line. But so let me ask this: is there a motion to close out the enforcement order, or to take no action on the enforcement order?
So moved.
Okay, to
Which
take
one?
no action. Yeah.
Which one?
To close it out.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right, further discussion, because we have a motion and with a second. But like I say, I'm pretty comfortable that we can close this thing out, but I'll go along with the majority. That's why I vote last. Okay, any further discussion on this before I call for a roll call?
I
Okay.
just think that they complied with what the enforcement order told them to do. Even if I don't like the result, that we can't, the enforcement order now doesn't say that they need to complete it with any particular time frame. So
Right.
even with it standing out there, I don't see how it will allow us to enforce anything more.
Only with an
Mm.
amendment. You would have to amend the enforcement order. to do
Okay,
that.
okay.
That's what I was suggesting, but
But then we're
It's
competing
fine.
with an order of conditions
it's
is
fine.
kind of
Yeah.
the,
This,
okay. All right, so roll call vote, all in favor, Mary.
sure.
You know, this is one of these
I
ones
just,
here.
eventually you wear me
Ah,
down.
Okay, well, you know what, I'm just trying to be consistent with what we
Yeah,
try to do.
it's fine.
so. TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yeah,
Bob Connors, and Frank. Frank, what?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next matter is 105 Northern Boulevard, unpermitted work. We've continued this matter to May of 2025 to review the planting success. 108 Main Street. We're taking no action on this until December 31st, 2024. Mary, did that bill ever get, I want to say, I think that bill actually got
It's making its way through. It's out of committee. I
okay.
haven't heard anything more yet.
Okay, so this requires no action. Enforcement order DEP file number 0501201. It's 30 Riverview Drive for unpermitted work. Mason, do you want to provide an update with this?
Yeah, so Mike DeRosa reached out to me. He's going to be working with the applicants at 30 to 32 Riverview. And he wrote down a couple of things for me to share with the commission. He met with them at the property last week. He has all the information regarding the unpermitted drainage improvements. He took some photos and was able to get out to the site, like I said. From his point of view, the site is stable, no erosion is occurring, so he doesn't think that there's any need to address the situation at this time directly. He said that this is something that they'd be looking to get into to permit within the next couple weeks, but right now it just isn't feasible for them. From his assessment, the drainage improvements could have been permitted because of it would have just been work in the buffer zone from his point of view. So I think that he's going to be planning on coming in for an RDA or an NOI to permit after the fact.
Okay.
I
Did
see
he
that-
did he give you a time frame, Mason? Is he
Yeah,
want to come in on the 19th or December 3rd?
he was looking towards like the first of the year. He said it's going to be a couple weeks before he's going to be able to get into the jurisdictional issues in regards to this project.
So he's thinking the first Tuesday of January 2025, which would be our first meeting of the year.
And it looks like the applicants are here. I don't know if I missed anything, if you guys want to add on to anything.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we're kind of letting Mike speak for us at this point.
Sure.
We are obviously very sorry for what we did. We want to make things right with the commission. So, we've hired Mike to help us do that. So, we have a lot of confidence in him. Seems like he's a great guy. So we're looking forward to working with him and working with you guys to, do whatever we need to do.
Okay. I think our action tonight's really just going to be is we're going to continue this to the first meeting of January 2025. And Mike can talk to Mason if he wants to come in earlier or if he needs a couple of extra weeks. The environment is not expiring out there at the moment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, enforcement order DEP file number 0501419 62 Middle Road, unpermitted work. Again, this was continued to May, the first meeting in May 2025 to review planting success. Okay, we have no extension requests. Certificates of compliance, DEP file number 0501389, 68 Green Street, Lot 1. Mason, you have an update that you wanted to continue this?
Yep, yeah, they're going to be looking to continue to the meeting on the 19th. I was able to get out there today, and they haven't been able to put the riprap at the backside of the emergency spillway to address the issues that the commission originally had in that area. So they're going to be continuing.
Okay, so we'll just put this on the agenda team for the 11/19 meeting.
And that order is still open? Yep.
Yeah, the date of the order was August 18, 2022, so it's still
Okay,
in
great.
force. Yeah,
Great.
hasn't expired. Okay, certificate of compliance, DEP file number 0501320, 16 Riverfront Drive. Applicant would like to close out the open order of conditions on the property and request a certificate of compliance. Can you give us an update on this?
Yep. So Bob and I had originally done the site walk probably about a month and a half ago. walk the site with the plan, to look at the, existing conditions after construction. And the only thing that we were waiting on was the stabilization of the grass in the front yard. The applicant has submitted a picture of the front yard, of the stabilization, and I was actually able to drive by today, and it looked a little bit better, than the picture he, submitted. So I think the stabilization is gonna be, sufficient enough for a COC for this project. I can sh-
Okay, so this order has expired. May, there was, or is this within the tolling period? May, so this, so it looks like it issued in May of 2020.
We're doing 286 High Road, right?
No, this is 16 Riverfront Drive.
Okay, sorry, I've gotten the wrong one.
Okay. So the question is, when was the tolling agreement on these orders? Was it in 2020? Because this expired in obviously May of 2023, unless it fell within that COVID tolling agreement. Mary, do you recall what
Yeah,
that,
I'm
was it,
looking it up. I don't remember off the top of my head.
was it March 20th, 2021? If it was
Yes.
before that, or,
It was. It had to be valid as of March 10th, 2020.
okay, and this was, before or after?
It had to be valid as of March 10th, 2020.
Okay, so this does not comply. This was May,
Yep.
so this is expired. Okay. All right. So Mason, is the applicant here? Does he want to make a presentation?
I do not believe he is here.
Okay, why don't you put up the map? I apologize, the Form 8A and the order of conditions get put into the Dropbox late this afternoon, probably 45 minutes before the meeting came, before the meeting started. If we're not comfortable looking at this, we can just kick this back to the next meeting to give everyone a chance to look at the original order of conditions. It did seem pretty clear cut, but again, I want everyone to be comfortable with whatever actions we're going to take. What's our pleasure?
I'm okay looking at it now.
Okay. Well, the applicant's not here to
Oh.
present it. So basically it was a new house, as I recall, Mason, that was put in.
Yep, correct.
Okay. Can you expand that? What's the date of the plan, and was there a cover letter from the engineer giving us any variances?
Yes, there was a cover letter. Yep, right here. So GeoAmbient Consultants wrote, Dear Commission, please accept this letter as part of the request for the certificate of compliance for the above referenced project. The work has been completed and is in substantial compliance with the plan titled Proposed Site Plan dated 3/4/2020, prepared by GA Consultants, Inc. We have conducted a site visit on 10/20/24. Believe that the site is in compliance with the order of conditions issued for the project under DEP file number 0501320 as filed in the South Essex Registry of Deeds, book 38721, page 428.
Okay. Did it list any variances?
Nope, no variances.
Okay. Okay, so Mason and I did do a site inspection, this probably back in July. That sound about right, Mason, when we,
Early September. I think it was the first week of September.
okay. And, and everything was stable, but there was one area in the front yard that had not grown in yet. And this is a straight typical green lawn application. The backyard, the backyard abutting the riverfront and the side yards were pretty much grown in, but the front yard was sparse. You had some pictures of that, Mason?
Yep, yeah, the applicant had sent in a picture, and then I was able to drive by today. And it actually looked like more grass had grown in between. When he submitted this original picture, which was probably last week, and then today. So here's the picture from last week.
Okay, yeah, that's probably about 60% of that team was still more bare sandy yard than,
Yeah, the graininess of the picture doesn't do it justice, but I would say about 75 to 80% of the yard is completely vegetated now with grass.
okay. All right, team, why don't I stop there? Questions? Mary, what are your thoughts on this one? What direction do you think we should go in?
I don't see anything in the orders that require an as-built plan. And I don't see that we've received one, just a letter.
Yeah, that the order conditions did not require one.
Didn't specify. So if Mason's been out there and with the old plan and can look around and see that it's the same and that there haven't been changes, then I'm fine.
Okay, thank you, Mary. TJ, questions?
Nope, all good.
Okay, Woody, any questions?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Diane, questions?
No.
Frank, any questions on this matter?
No, thank you.
Okay. Do any members have a request for a site visit or any additional information? If not, I will entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 Riverfront Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
I think we got that
you
covered.
pick. You pick.
Yeah. Okay, roll call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes,
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right. Next matter, certificate of compliance, DEP file number 0501165, 286 High Road. Applicant would like to close out an open order of condition regarding the installation of a dock on the property and a request of a certificate of compliance. Mason, you want to give us an overview or you want to let Bill Holt make his presentation? What's your pleasure?
Yeah, I was able to go out to the site. The dock and float looked like they were installed according to the approved plans, as well as the as-built letter that I received. There was sufficient spacing between the boards. It was fully vegetated underneath. I would say about 85% fully vegetated. I have some photos to share as well, but I will let Bill take over and explain anything he needs to.
Hey, good evening, Bill. Just give us your name and
William Holt on behalf of the applicant Ron Haskell, who's the current owner. Yeah, we did an as-built. I don't know if you have it, you can show, Mason.
Yep.
But we did an as-built plan of the dock. It is built, in compliance with the proposed plans. We did go out with Patrick Seacamp, who reviewed the vegetation and indicated that it had, it was under the vegetation under the dock is at the same rate as the rest of the salt marsh, so it definitely survived the construction of the dock. So I don't really have much more to add than, it was built in 2000. Oh, it's approved in 2014, built somewhere between 2014 2015. And I was never asked to do a as-built back then until the current owner has an application before you now and found out that this was an open order of conditions that hadn't been closed out. So we went out and did the as-built of the actual dock in place.
all right, Bill, why don't I stop you there and open this up to questions from the members? Mary, any questions on this matter for Bill?
just a couple quick ones, Bill. Yeah, this dock, I remember being kind of nice and high, so there's plenty of light underneath it, which is great. Do we know how the floats are being stored?
I do not. You could ask the applicant. Ron Hasker is on the meeting right now.
Okay, and that question and whether or not there was a chapter 91 license issued.
That I don't know either as well.
Okay. I don't see the original order here, so I'm not sure what any special conditions there might have been. for this
I
one.
don't have a copy of it on my computer, but Mason might have one. I'm not sure. It is recorded, and then I did have it. I think I printed it, and didn't keep a PDF of it, so I can't
Yeah.
show it.
I don't see it here in our
Is it in a Dropbox? maybe?
Dropbox. Yeah,
Okay.
If I can find it.
but maybe while we're waiting for Mason to find that, Ron, can you tell us about the floats?
Yes, I'm sorry, I tried to unmute and it kicked me out. I'm back. Yeah, the floats are all maintained and stored at Riverfront Marine across the river.
You
The
just float them
contract-
down. Okay,
Yeah, they float them over and put them on land over there. The poles come out, everything comes out. The gangway slides up on the permanent structure for the winter.
and do you know if there's a chapter 91 license?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that would be a state dock license through Mass DEP. That would have likely been a condition of the order of conditions, so that's what I was wondering.
Bill, do you know you were involved with the original construction, weren't you?
I do not know if the original owner filed for one or not. I did not file it for him, so I do not know if he ever got one.
I don't see anything in the special conditions requiring a chapter 91 license.
Okay, then it's not our issue.
Okay. Mary,
Thank
anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. TJ, any questions for either Bill or Ron?
Nothing further. Oh,
Woody, any questions for Bill or Ron?
No questions. Thank you.
Mick, any questions?
No, Bob, all set, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions for either Bill or Ron?
No, I actually saw this one on the site visit. It looked good.
Okay. Frank, any questions on this?
No.
Okay, I have no questions. Are there any raised hands from the public at this time? Okay, do any members have a request for a site visit or additional information?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 286 High Road regarding the dock install.
Go ahead,
So moved.
Diane. Second,
Someone,
Okay, well, it's either gonna be TJ and Diane or Diane and TJ, so we'll.
I was waiting for him.
You guys gotta rehearse that.
Yeah.
jump in
Well,
anywhere you want, people.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, all in favor. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
All right,
Diane,
Yes.
Frank. Frank, you're probably on mute.
Frank looks frozen.
Yeah. And I vote yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next order, certificate of compliance with DEP file number. Now, this is an old one, team. This is 50-227 for 130 Northern Boulevard. Applicant would like to close out an old septic tank, order of conditions and request a certificate of compliance. We're not sure, the order of conditions was filed. It didn't really give any detail of what it was. It goes back to 1987. And, certainly there's a sewer water tie-in at this point. So we don't know if if they did any work or not. The previous owner sold it in 2002, and the new owner obviously had no idea, doesn't have any idea what it is. So I guess we can look at this in two lights, that the work wasn't completed because there isn't a septic system on the property. There's no depressions. It's typically vegetated like all the adjoining lots. Why don't I stop there? Mason, you went out. Why don't you give us your overview on that?
Yeah, so I went out, like Bob was saying, kind of hard to see if there was any work done there. The area which I just showed seemed to be undisturbed. I believe that they had a moving van or something parked there, so there was some tire tracks and things like that, but nothing large at all. I was able to just kind of smooth everything out with my foot, grab some pictures. So I would recommend a full COC for this.
Okay. Questions? Mary, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know, we can't reconstruct it, so I did notice that there are a couple other items on the property that we might want to discuss, but not having to do with the septic tank.
Okay. Anything else, Mary?
Nope.
Okay. TJ, any questions on this one?
Nope.
Woody, any questions?
No questions, Bob, thank you.
Mick, any questions?
No questions, Bob, thanks.
Okay. Diane, any questions?
Nope, it was a weird little order of conditions.
Well, I couldn't even find it on the portal. I tried to look it up and it just doesn't go back that far, obviously.
They weren't supposed to disturb things.
Yeah. Frank, any questions on this?
No.
Okay, I have no questions. Any raised hands from the public at this time? Okay. Do any members have a request for a site visit or additional information? Okay, hearing no request. I will entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 130 Northern Boulevard.
So
Roll
moved.
call. Okay, so Diane and TJ. Okay, roll call, all in favor. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay. Okay, we have no public hearings at this time.
No new public hearings?
Yep, no new public hearing. So we have a continued public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file number 0501437, 46B Cottage Road, demo removal of existing residential structure, followed by construction of a new 3-bedroom, single-family residential structure on a full foundation and other associated site improvements. Mason, can you provide an overview and an update on this matter?
Yep, so the applicant has submitted updated plans, adding the transect for the top of the coastal bank, as well as addressing the riverfront regulations in regards to an increased footprint and not making existing conditions work. The commission had questions before on whether they would follow new development or redevelopment standards. So I think Millennium is here to explain the changes that they made.
Okay. Matt, are you presenting on this one or is it TJ?
It's me. So yes, good evening, Matt Steinell, Millennium Engineering, for the record. I think everybody can see my screen now.
Yeah, Matt, could you just enlarge it a little bit?
Blow it up.
Yep.
Good.
The screen itself needs to be enlarged, or just the image?
That's good.
Okay, good. All right. So as Mason had said, we'd turned in revised plans based on the comments that we received from both the commission and from DEP at the last public hearing. One of the questions was, we indicated on the notice of intent application that we were adjacent to Coastal Bank and it wasn't properly delineated on the plan. We went back and looked at the different figures and how it's determined, and in doing so, we've provided the commission with 2 separate cross sections of the coastal bank there. And you can see here on both cases, we have slopes here that are way too steep, in excess of what the requirement is. So the first observable break where the slope came down below 10% is where the top of the coastal bank was delineated. In the case of the westerly intersection, the westerly section here, we were at about 14.2. And in the easterly cross section, we were at about 15.8. So as Commissioner Rimmer had pointed out, it was falling right around elevation 15 is what we were seeing. So we came back to the site plan, took that elevation right along the 15 contour where it kind of bisected those two elevations, offset that, and we provided both the 50-foot coastal bank buffer line here, as well as the additional 100-foot coastal bank buffer back here. And so that's now properly delineated on the plan. In addition to that, the commission had some concerns about the placement of the new house as shown on sheet 2. They wanted to see the overlay of the old house on top of it. So we shaded that area here, you can see. And we provided excuse me, up in the top corner here, a riverfront impact comparison table where we compared pre-existing conditions, both within the inner riparian and outer riparian. And then you have the totals in this column with the proposed inner riparian, outer riparian, and totals here. And then the final column gives a net change. So in this case here, it did result in us having a slightly larger footprint or massing of the structure in the inner riparian. I spoke with the applicant and we agreed to pull the structure back to make sure that the massing did not increase at all within the inner riparian. So you'll see here the existing dwelling is 989 square feet and the proposed is 908. So it's a net result of about 81 square foot reduction. So no increase in the massing of the structure. It's a slight reduction. Overall, you can go right down through each column and get your totals at the bottom, or you can take it across and get your net change. So overall, we have a proposed riparian impact of 2,875 square feet for the structure. And that's a net change of 1,811, with the vast majority of that in the outer riparian. Across, we have the detached garage. You can see that there's no change there. That structure is to remain and we're not expanding upon that. So in the proposed side, it's all zeros with no net change. The paved driveway, we have 286 square feet existing within the outer riparian, and then the expansion takes place only in the outer riparian. So the net result is going to be an increase in 1,555 square feet in that outer riparian. We have a gravel driveway currently there that's 1,284 square feet. That's within the outer riparian. That's essentially what's being replaced by the paved driveway. And so we have a net reduction of the gravel that is offset by a portion of the increase in the pavement. Total increases is 2,082 square feet, of which, again, the majority of that is in the outer riparian here. And I'll come back down to the plan just to show the commission what we're talking about. The original structure, if you look at the shaded area here, you can see it's closer to the riverfront, although the new structure is larger in mass and extends backwards towards the road away from the river and into the outer riparian. As such, we have this area here of a paved driveway. This is essentially the same general area. The existing gravel one came in this way as well, but instead of turning up this way towards the driveway, it kind of projected straight across this way here and pulled in a Y shape on either side of the structure here. And so although we're increasing the footprint of the pavement versus the gravel, we are pulling the traveled surface away from the river. So we're getting further back with where cars will be parking. And getting that further away from the river. The structure itself is being pulled back further away from the river. And then in addition to that, we have 8 new shrubs here. We have along the property line here, primarily in the outer riparian, 4 new chokeberry shrubs. And then down here along the river, we have it just below the top of the embankment, but above where the other resource areas are delineated at the toe of the slope. We have 4 additional shrubs here, and these are twig dogwood shrubs. We chose a dogwood shrub species based on the recommendations of a wetland scientist that we were speaking with, because they're resilient against any ice that comes through and damages them, and the roots remain in place, and then the plant grows back up each year. So if there are any ice dams or anything come through here that damage the plant has an opportunity to spring back up. I think that was the bulk of the concern or comments, at least, that were brought up at the last meeting and addresses DEP's concerns. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Mary, questions for Matt on the revised plan?
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for making those changes. The existing garage there, that's not for vehicles? You're not going to pull into that? Is that just more like a storage area, or?
It's labeled as a garage, and I'll honestly say that's a generous description of it. It's
Yeah.
an oversized shed. There's a garage door in the front, which is why I think it got that label, and it's really meant for like riding lawnmower equipment and things like that.
Storage, okay,
It's shed.
that's right, and they want to, is it on a full foundation, do we know?
It's on a slab.
It's on a slab, okay. And that is what's restricting you from pushing everything further away from the river, that structure?
Well, it is in part. I think the owner wishes to retain some of the view that he has there. That's part of the value of the property.
Yep.
But in a sense, yes, if we were to try to push this any further, we would have to consider taking down that shed because it would make the driveway too tight, turning radiuses, and we have to get a septic tank and stuff. So it would change what we can kind of compact into this area here to make it a lot more difficult to use.
Okay, thank you. And then on the river side of the house, the new house, you're not changing grades at all there, it doesn't look like. But can you tell me what the treatment will be in that area? Is it going from, I mean, it's sort of undisturbed right now, isn't it? Or is it?
It's essentially turf lawn right now.
It is open, it's turf now?
It's essentially turf lawn now. There's one tree here. Actually, I have some photos I can actually bring up if the commission wants to see those, and I think that would help. Did the screen change? You can see the pictures now?
Yep.
All right, let me scroll down. And so on the riverside, this is what we have here is turf lawn.
Okay, yep.
Now there's a shrub, a tree. And as we come down this way here, you can see it's all manicured lawn, even going down the embankment, it's all manicured.
Okay. So where are the shrubs going?
Right in the middle of this lawn that's on the embankment. Yeah, again,
Okay.
about halfway up the slope, that's where they're gonna get planted.
Okay. And okay. So if you can go back to the plan again, what's the width of the lot there right along the river?
We have a
60,
dimension
what did
here
that
along the
say,
back of
69?
69 and a half. Yeah.
Okay, so you probably increase the density of those plantings a little bit more than just the four shrubs, and even since it is mowed down to the edge, I would like to see a little more restoration of that embankment there rather than having it just be turf, to put in some additional native plantings there. I like that it's been pushed back now from the original house location so that it can fit more easily into the redevelopment provisions. You still do have some work in excess of what was there previously that is in the 100-foot riverfront area, but I'm assuming that is also existing lawn area, or?
That's
Am I
correct. Yes.
Okay, so it's over existing lawn, there's no cutting or clearing. So I like the plan with the exception that I would like to see more enhancement plantings on the bank as the mitigation measure to justify the redevelopment. So
Okay, Mary,
yeah,
I'll
my only comment. Yep.
I'll circle back. TJ, any comments from Matt on this?
No further than what Mary brought up, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any comments on this one?
No, I don't have any comments, Bob, thank you.
Okay, Mick, how about you? Any comments on this one?
I think Redoja Dogwood's a good choice. But I agree with Mary. I think brings up a good point. There's room there to bring in some more native plantings. And the Redoja Dogwoods, you could definitely get them in tighter. They're kind of columnar in growth. But they're aggressive, and they'll be great for soil stabilization in there. So you'll be cutting them down in 3 years. You'll be lowering them. They'll grow up pretty fast.
Okay, anything else, Mick?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions or comments on this matter?
I'm not entirely familiar with the redevelopment, but basically the pushing back of the building is the significant improvement. And along with the shrubs, right?
Correct.
So, okay, clear.
Okay. Hey, Frank, any questions on this matter?
No further questions.
Okay, so Matt, I think following back up on Mary's comment on plantings, what would you consider doing to increase the plantings along the coastal bank there, the river?
Sure. What I can tell you is that this, is at no fault of the commission, this is on me, has been a delayed project, and the owner is obviously anxious to get going. I think he would be absolutely fine with putting in additional plantings. I just don't think he wants to continue this any further and wants to move it along.
Sure.
If the commission is okay, with us adding, another 3 or 4 more dogwoods along this embankment, maybe staggering them in kind of a pattern here. We could do that, and as Commissioner Brown had mentioned, they do grow. They're aggressive. They'll get wider, and they'll spread a little bit. These right now are currently shown are spaced about 14 feet apart. So if we stagger them, having them 7 feet apart, a little staggered, I think that wouldn't fill in so much. And Commissioner Brown comment about them kind of growing up and being trimmed down. We did take that into consideration. That's part of the reason we put them halfway down on the embankment. So hopefully they could grow to full height without fully disrupting the view, so it wouldn't require a lot of trimming. So our intent here is to get them in a place where they will have the least amount of disruption, but have the most amount of effect on stabilizing that embankment and restoring that area.
Okay. So you're proposing, if you have existing, I guess the question is on the, the other thing I worry about is crowding trees where the tables are going to, Mick, being a registered arborist, what would be consistent spacing for success of these trees? How wide is the table going to get in a 5-year period? Is it going to be a 10-foot wide?
Oh, no. They're columnar.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They're kind of, you familiar with Rosa Sharon?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a dogwood. It's a red twig. It's a multi-stem shrub, considered a multi-stem shrub. So it really does grow kind of up in a column. There's another variety, you mix them a lot. There's a yellow twig version. So you can mix the reds and the yellows. It looks kind of pretty in the winter. But yeah, I think 6-foot spacing is what I've put them on before. It's kind of like a backdrop. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if I could jump in, Bob, that
yeah, certainly, man,
based on the DP restoration standards, you're looking at usually 1 shrub per 50 square feet. And based on my calculations, if you estimate 7 or 8 foot width and the 69-foot length of this bank, you end up with around 11 shrubs. But you got a dock in between. So, if 10, I think would fit nicely. And like I said, you can stagger them. They don't have to all be red twig dogwood. I think if we just specified 10 native shrubs for bank enhancement plantings and leave it at that would be fine as long as they're native.
Okay.
And then maybe the applicant can provide the final species to Mason for approval prior to putting them in.
Okay, so we're thinking that if Matt was to add a notation to the plan, that there would be 10 native plantings in this area.
We just could include a special condition in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
All right,
would provide an updated plan tomorrow morning. We could add those additional shrubs and provide, just so there'd be no confusion with the contractors seeing 4 symbols and not reading the order.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other questions outside the planting? Mary, one question. Are we keeping these on the coastal, on the riverbank or the side yards? Is there a preference, or do they get credit for? I
think that the wildlife enhancement and slope stabilization enhancement is more important than the sort of screening along the side property line that those other plantings provide.
Okay, you're putting a higher value on, on the back.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt. So I think you hear what we're going to be asking for. So we're going to we'll entertain a special condition for a plan update of 10 native plants. Is that what we're talking about?
Not including the side ones, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, on the riverbank. Okay, and you can, long as they're approved with the CZM's approved list, we're good with that, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other questions at this time from any other members? Let me go back through everyone. Mary, anything else?
No, I don't, I think I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. TJ, any other comments?
No, all good.
Okay, Woody, how about you? Anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Bob.
Mick, any further comments?
All set, Bob, thanks.
Diane, any comments?
No,
Frank, any comments? Frank, you can't vote on this one because it was a public hearing before you became a member, but we value your input.
No, I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay, I have no comments. Are there any raised hands from the public at this time? Do we have any Mason, do you see any raised hands? I do not.
Nope, not seeing any.
Okay, all right, do any members have a request for a site visit, additional information, plan amendment, or adding additional content to this notice of intent outside of the special conditions of adding 10 native plants to the bank? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
second,
Okay, roll call, all in favor? Mary,
Yes.
TJ. TJ, looks like you're frozen.
Aye.
Woody? Woody?
Yes.
Mick?
All right,
Diane?
yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right, so special conditions, so far the only special conditions that's been discussed is the 10 native plants along the river bank, as we've discussed. Anything else are we thinking? Okay, I will entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 46B Cottage Road with our usual conditions and that one special condition that the plan will be updated, locating 10 native plants.
So moved.
Second,
Okay. Diane. All right, roll call. All in favor? Mary?
Yes.
TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
Yes.
Mick?
all right,
Diane?
yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, next matter, it's a continued public hearing, DEP file number 0501436, 286 High Road to construct an addition to an existing single-family dwelling with associated utilities, expanded driveway within the 100-foot buffer to Salt Marsh area. Mason, I see Bill Holt is here and Ron. Do you want to provide a quick update of what we received for docs, and then we'll turn it over to Bill?
Yep, so we have updated plans with the updated delineation of the coastal bank according to DEP guidelines. There's additional tables to outline some of the disturbance on the property, comparing existing conditions to the proposed conditions.
Okay, Bill, why don't you bring us up to speed?
William Holt, for the record, representing Ron Hasker, the owner. Let me, if I can share my screen, I'll bring up the revised plan. Everybody see that? Oops. Sorry. I'm gonna zoom in on the proposed section, once I figure out how. Yeah, so you can see this is the proposed plans with the proposed addition and the proposed driveway. And I have revised the plan to include the coastal bank based on figure 4 in the guidance document, where it does go up greater than 4:1 from the edge of the marsh up to the top of the bank, which is where it flattens out to the in the lawn area, and where it flattens down to, 1 and 10. What we highlighted is this line here, and it's labeled, mislabeled there, but it's labeled over here as the limit of the coastal bank per the guidance.
The black
Basically,
line?
the top, it's basically, yeah, the black line, it's basically the
Okay.
top of the slope where it flattens out at 10 to 1. Originally, we thought it would be the limit would be the 100-year floodplain, which is elevation 13. But based on the figures and the documentation for the guidance, we determined that it would actually be above that, it'd be in this location here. So it's basically in the lawn area and at the edge of the tree line. And all of our work is outside of the proposed of that coastal bank, which is highlighted by the limit of the work is highlighted by the proposed erosion controls. And I also added a table to the side, which explains the altered areas on the site, and the proposed areas on the existing altered areas and the proposed altered areas. The existing total land disturbance on the site is 15,605 square feet, and the proposed total land disturbance is 15,870 for a difference of 265 square feet, which is located in this area right here where the proposed turnaround driveway is going to be, and part of the proposed infiltration for the driveway runoff. That's the area, but it changes. It's existing now is a treed area, a vegetated area. And we're gonna remove some of that vegetation to create that turnaround in the driveway. So that's what I added. There's also the impervious area. There's existing impervious area of 4,577 square feet, which is the existing barn and deck, as well as existing house in the deck and the entryways, and the existing walkway, which is pavers, and the existing driveway. Those add up to 4,577. And when we do the proposed work, the barn is being removed and then partially rebuilt as the new garage, and a new crawl space addition, and addition on slab, and a proposed porch on piers. And of course, the new driveway to access the garage to the side, which those add up to be 3,024 square feet, and an increase of 3,024 square feet in impervious area. Now, we did get a comment from DEP yesterday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I went over it with Patrick, who could not be here tonight because he's at another meeting in person and cannot attend. So their comment was that the ditches in the back, they call them tidal creeks that show up on the quad sheet. And I got the copy of the quad sheet here, and I just want to kind of call it up and show you what they're talking about. Plus, here's the Parker River, and our site's located right here. And it's this line right here they're calling that Tidal Creek, which is I have partially located on our plan, but it's not on this plan, it's on the other plan for the previous plowing. But we're gonna look that over and see, because they're saying that might be considered perennial as well as part of the Parker River. It does go off away from the site, but where it connects to the Parker River is close to the bridge, and it may be within 200 feet, obviously, closer than the bank that we showed originally. So our plan will probably change a little once we get that located properly, and the setback shown. Right now, the 200-foot riverfront is in this area because the river is 200 feet away, it's river bank, but that Tidal Creek comes up in this area up to there, and I think it's going to be, this 200-foot riverfront area is going to push out into the middle of the lot, and the 100-foot will get closer but not beyond the property. Or it might be on the property a little bit, depending on where that Tidal Creek is located. So we're gonna have to revise that and didn't have time to go out and check some numbers to see if, what the location of that bank will be. So, and I wanted to go over it with Patrick to verify that we're showing it properly. And then we'll revise our plan, and some of the numbers are gonna change, obviously, if this riverfront area comes up into the property more. So,
Hey,
the
Bill,
other thing I'd like to,
Okay.
talk about just briefly, we were talking about the proposed driveway and what the surface of the proposed driveway is gonna be. I've designed it to be pavement, which is 1,995 square feet of pavement. I think Ron may be considering to do some kind of a more of a porous pavement or a porous surface that would reduce that number. So our impervious area may go down some. Ron is on the meeting right now. I don't know if he's made a decision. I haven't been able to talk to him in the last day or so to ask him. But you might, if Ron's here, he might want to indicate what he's proposing to do with the surface of the
Bill, why
driveway.
don't, let me do this. Why don't I just hold you there and let's open it up to some questions? And then we can wrap up, but if I'm understanding, you're gonna request a continuance so you can update your plan and.
Yeah, we're gonna need to
respond.
be able to address the DEP comment.
Right, okay.
I don't wanna close it out and then have any kind of decisions made before we
Right,
finalize that.
okay. Well, let me do this. Let me open this up and get some feedback from Mary and the other members. And then we'll wrap up with, because the plan's gonna change. So Mary, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, we need an updated plan with that
Yeah.
new guidance, so.
Yep, it looks like one thought that I have is that from the aerials of this area, that the tidal creeks that DEP are talking about may be totally dry at low tide. If that's the case, that are not perennial streams. They don't have unidirectional flow. So that is the first thing that I would check, Bill, is to make
Yep.
sure that at low tide, if there's no flow there's
Yeah.
two channels at issue, I think, potentially.
That's what Patrick and I discussed earlier today
Yeah.
before, I found out he wasn't gonna be up here, so. But yeah, we're gonna go out and take a look at that. Yeah, I think you may be absolutely correct.
Yeah,
Low tide is gonna be below the level of the base of those tidal creeks, so it should drain
Yep.
completely between. So that's something to look at. It may not change the plan at all in that case.
right.
but-
Yeah, so you can take some photos of it or some documentation for
Yeah.
DEP. And then my other comment is that your 100-foot buffer zone
Mark.
says to BVW,
Oh, it should say.
is that to the coastal
Salt marsh.
bank or to the? I'm not sure.
That's to the marsh, and I need to add the setbacks to the bank,
Yeah.
which
you
will
see-
we'll
Yep.
probably push that up quite a bit into this area up in here.
Yeah, so your whole site is in jurisdiction. And then the last thing is that do you have enough topo in the area where that thumb is of the turnaround of the driveway to be able to determine if the grading is gonna work there? So-
I will check that. I can take a few more shots. We did have.
I know it's really thick in there and it doesn't look like you have any topo there, so
Well, I have a
maybe there's
16
one or two.
elevation here, and then I think I had some shots along this wall, but I'll double check that.
I
and-
think it drops off there, and if that's the case, then that could affect your coastal bank delineation in that corner too.
Okay, I'll take a look and we'll get some extra shots.
Yeah. Did you do the transects? I think you said you did, and I don't
I
see.
did. I didn't show them, but I can draw a couple.
Show where you put them. Yep. And
Yep,
with
maybe,
the
yeah, probably
the
different
slope
sheet
changes.
because- Yeah,
They'll want to see, yeah, which figure you're referring to. So it's probably
yeah, figure forward. Kind of comes up and then levels off at 10-1.
it does seem to, yeah, it actually just needs to be less than 4-1 above the funded year flood zone. It can be less than 4-1.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you, Mary. TJ, any comments for Bill at this point?
You're also gonna clean up whatever, you said there was a couple lines that were mislabeled or a line that was mislabeled, clean that
Yeah,
up too? Okay.
yeah, I see it right here. It's that it says Pro TEC is pointing towards the
Wow.
coastal bank.
Okay. All right, I'll wait for the new plan. All
Yeah.
set.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any comments or questions for Bill? Okay, yeah, Mick, any questions for Bill?
No, I'll wait for whatever revisions they need to add.
Yeah, no, I agree. Diane, any comments at this time?
Nothing new, thank you.
Okay, Frank, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I see a raised hand. Why don't you know what? We have opened the public hearing. We know that, Bill, you're gonna request a continuance to probably either the November 19th or December 3rd meeting.
Yeah. We'll try for November 19th if we could.
Okay. All right, well, let's open this up. I see, it says Mark Batchelder.
I see Kate.
Yeah. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Yeah, I apologize, Bob. We lost track of time, but it sounds like it's already been discussed and we're good. Thanks,
Okay.
Mason.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry. It's just that it is when we would open it up to public comments, so.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so Bill, you're requesting a continuance of the public hearing to our November 19th meeting, correct?
Yes, that would be a good day. I think I can get everything in order by then.
Okay, if you have to kick it back to December 3rd, just let Mason know, and
Okay.
you won't even have to appear.
All right.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to the November 19th, 2024 meeting.
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so it's a Diane and a TJ, that's what,
Yep,
that's how
that's
it's getting,
fine.
that's
Me
how
and
it's getting
PJ will
written.
work it out for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay,
Bit of a
roll
rush.
call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Frank, same thing, you're too green on this one. All right,
It's pretty
thank you.
complicated too, so I'm a,
Yeah, no, Mary was holding a training seminar at the last meeting about all these
Yes.
riverfront stuff. So, all right, I'm going to quickly go through it. It's 7:30. We have some administrative matters. There was a request to release an easement on Parker Street. It's in the Dropbox. Obviously, that gets sent to town council. Town council had a conflict, so we had to get special counsel. And the answer is we can't do anything. And there was a pathway forward for the applicant, for the requester, to go back to the original grantor of the easement, where they retain the right to revoke it at any time. So FYI on our part, there's nothing to do, but it was a communication that came in, and it's in the Dropbox. Mason, on 3 Newburyport Turnpike, we issued an order of conditions. We had a typo on the file number when that was it. We updated that.
Yep.
And I think that was the only thing. Other than that, anything you want to add, Mason?
Nope, that was all. The incorrect file number was 050-1336, and the new updated one is 050-1432.
Okay, was it the incorrect one, the old file number? We just transposed it, was that?
The correct one is 050-1432.
But my question is, the number that was wrong, that was the old expired file number?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any questions from anyone at this point? It's 7:31. So Mary, you'll be happy to know Frank and I have some training coming up with Alicia Gillen, if I'm saying her name
Galen,
correctly.
yeah, I think it is.
Galen,
Yep.
on, I think it's November 20th. We're doing a little Zoom update with her,
Great.
and we're looking forward to the update, the training, and actually getting to, to meet Alicia. So I think that's it. You know what, Ron, did you want to add, I apologize. Did you want to comment on paved versus, impervious versus pervious surface for your driveway?
Well, just that,
I mean, that's something you can discuss with Bill and just present at the next meeting on your plan. And that would probably be the appropriate time to do it, but
Yeah, as Bill mentioned, he drew the plan up with as paved. And I think one of the commission members suggested a more permeable surface. And I said, well, I'm open to that, but we have not identified anything, and I mean, I'm not certain that it's required. If it's required, we'll definitely come up with a product, and or maybe I just go find something and specify it.
yeah, I think the key is to get your revised plan accurate in what you propose to use.
Yeah.
And I think Bill can give you some guidance on that too, on
Yeah.
what's going to be allowable.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, team? Last word? Mary, any last word before I entertain a motion to adjourn? Okay,
Yep,
TJ?
everybody will be glued to their TVs tonight, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's TJ, any final
Nope.
thoughts?
Nope, all set.
Diane?
Nope.
Mick?
All set, thank you.
Okay, Woody, any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. I'm good.
And Frank Wettenkamp, you're gonna make a motion to adjourn, aren't you?
I am. I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn, second with a roll call. All in favor? Mary, TJ,
Yes.
Woody?
Yes,
Diane,
yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Aye,
yes,
aye, aye.
Connors and Frank,
yes.
and it is 7:33 PM. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Bye.
Okay.